Okay, so I've just finished the Object 430 grind in Era 1. Both the Object 430 and the 430U. I played them all the way through. Didn't use any free XP because I actually wanted to play the game as it's intended. You know, don't skip it. Play it all the way through. Get the full experience. So I've done that. The 430U is... Well, I'll get onto the 430U in a second. But the 430, I quite liked it. It's... I mean, Russian tanks are Russian tanks, and they always have done, and they always will suffer from the same problem, which is gun depression. The 430U has 5 degrees of gun depression. I have no idea what the 430 has. I'd assume it's pretty similar. So you don't have a lot of room. You don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to the topography, playing uphill. And even playing this position here, which is, you know, you'd think this is relatively flat. I can still shoot down into the field. Even here, I run into issues where I have to stick my arse end up on the rubble to my right just so I can get the gun down to hit the target. And that's, I mean, it's manageable. It bothered me a little bit playing this tank, or these tanks, but not enough for me to think to myself, I don't like this. How that 107 survived that, I don't know. But the 430s, I liked him, and he's off as well. Okay, yep. See ya. So yeah, 430s. The gun depression was never enough. Was never poor enough for me to think, you know what, I really don't like these tanks. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna keep them. I'm gonna keep the 430. I'm gonna keep the 430. I'm especially gonna keep the 430U. And this video is about the 430U because and for context here, just, you know, my World of Tanks CV. I've 2-marked the Centurion 5.1. I've 3-marked the M48. 2-marked the Lorraine. What else have I done? Yeah, I think for now I'll leave my World of Tanks CV there. What my point is, I've played the mediums in Era 1 quite a lot, and the 5.1 it's not an easy tank to. It's a good tank, but it's not an easy tank. And I think the reason I've always felt it's a good tank is because it's not easy. It doesn't just hand anything to you. The same can be said for the M48 as well. It's a good tank. It's a good looking tank as well. But it's not an easy one to just jump into and do well. You've got to be careful with it. You've got to be sensible with it, because the reloads feel quite long, and the alpha feels like I do anyway. I get the feel of like, oh, the reload could be just a bit quicker, or the alpha could be just a bit higher, and that would kind of hit its sweet spot. Now, that's what I've thought for a long time, but also in the back of my head there's a voice telling me, no, if those tanks were the way you wanted them to be, it would be too much. It would be too much for Era 1. And my guess is, and that was a nice shot, my guess is that the reason those tanks have remained the way they are is because they are well balanced. That brings me to the 430U. With all the other mediums I've played this one, and I've thought to myself, this feels ever so slightly too good. Now, to back up what I'm saying, let's take a look at this table here. So I've tabulated, I think I've tabulated all of the single shot mediums in Era 1. No, there are no premiums in here. We're just looking at the tech tree ones. So we've got the gun stats only. So penetration for standard and gold ammunition, alpha for gold and standard ammunition, the DPM, reload, aim, time and accuracy, and obviously all of these numbers are without crew and equipment. So if you were to put your crew in these tanks, the reload would get faster, the accuracy would get better, the DPM would be higher. But for now, we're just going to take it as just the tanks upgraded, no cruising them whatsoever. So, red is the worst, green is the best, and orange is sort of like, it's near the top, but it's not the top. What you'll notice for the 430U is there's a lot of green. The red doesn't really matter, because if you're firing gold ammunition like I am, doesn't matter. And the aim time, it's the worst, 2.1 seconds. The best is 1.9. You're talking 0.2 of a second. It's not that big a deal. But the thing that I want to draw your attention to is, look at the penetration on gold. The best in Era 1 is 370 on the Turan, but the Turan is not a great vehicle. And the next best is the M48, which is a tank I've already discussed. So that's 350. And the 430U comes in at 348, which is 2mm off the M48. So we'll just disregard the Turan, because it's kind of a non-contender at this point. We'll take the sort of mainstream mediums. The M48's a mainstream. Centurion 5.1 is mainstream. The 430U has almost the same penetration on gold, which is one of the highest in Era 1. And then look at the Alpha, 440. The next best is 390. That means that for every single shot the 430 fires, it's doing an extra 50 damage. Which means the DPM of 2,693, remember, no crew equipment or consumables, that number will go up. It has the highest DPM, which basically means, and I had this conversation with Russ last night, it doesn't matter if you're it doesn't matter how good a player, if you have this equal skill in two tanks, the M48 and the 430U, the 430U will win every time. And this result here is kind of what I'm getting at. 7 kills, 9,011 damage. I cannot remember the last time I got that much damage in an Era 1 medium. 4,005, yeah, I can remember, because that's, smacks pretty hard. But after playing this game, and after playing the 430U all the way through, and just comparing the 430U to the other mediums in the era, the 430U to me feels... it feels very, very strong. And it feels like it doesn't matter how good you are in a 5.1, or a 7.73, or a 48, or any other medium. Doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to be outgunned by the 430U. Not to mention the fact that the armor of the 430U isn't bad either. It's pretty good. So now that I've finished the 430U grind and I'm done with Era 1, looking back on it, I'm thinking, I think maybe this is... I like it. I'm not gonna lie. I like how strong... I like playing the strong tank. It's not a crutch tank per se. It doesn't just hand you the damage. You do need to think about what you're doing, but the way I feel about it is I could put the same level of effort into the M48, the 5.1, and there is no way I would get a result like that one. I just don't see it happening. And that's got me thinking that maybe, for the sake of Era 1 and the balance of the game, maybe the 430U needs to be tweaked ever so slightly. Maybe bring down that Alpha just a touch. Bring it down so it's in line with the other vehicles, because I like the balance of Era 1. I don't want that to be... I don't want the boat rocked too much, I like the balance of Era 1. I think it's in a good place. But I do think the 430U is... maybe a little too good. You guys let me know what you think. Those of you that have played the 430U, tell me how your experience in it has been. That's been my experience. That was my best game in the 430U, and it's not like you did 6,000 damage. Is that no? I a couple more shots and I would have broken 10k in an Era 1 medium. That's up there. That is up there in a way that doesn't happen very often for me. So that does stand out. But yes, you guys let me know what your experience in the 430U has been. Let me know what your experience has been against the 430U and whether you've noticed it being too good, not good enough. Let me know in the comments below. So that is all I've got for this video, guys. If you've enjoyed it, please leave it a like. If not, a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.